All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm talking with Mr. Luis Villasenor. I hope I pronounced his name right.
Yeah, perfectly.
Cool. Yeah, your nickname is Darthluigi, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you got pretty famous on the internet, on the Reddit forums, and we're going to talk about ketogenic diets and bodybuilding on ketogenic diets and building muscle. So for those people who don't even know what a ketogenic diet is, are not familiar with the concept, this is probably not the right podcast for you guys. So we're going to geek out on muscle building and bodybuilding on ketogenic diets. So Luis, how did you've been on a ketogenic kind of diet for a long time, right?
Exactly. For about, I'm going to be a little bit more than 15 years now.
15 years, holy shit. Okay, so how old were you when you started then?
I'm actually right now about 38 and a half.
Okay.
I started doing keto when I was about 21, 22 or something like that. I don't have the math right now. But I started doing keto mainly due to, curiosity. I wanted to be, I wanted to know how the bodybuilders get ripped before a contest. And, the classic diet of bodybuilders at the time, I'm talking about 1998, 2000, was about eating sardines and with oil, tuna in a can, lean chicken. So it's although not a practically high-fat diet in the sense, it's a low-carb diet. So I started researching on what the bodybuilders did, and I stumbled upon keto.
Okay, interesting. So you're saying at that time that was kind of a traditional kind of way for bodybuilders to eat. So it was not all the high carb stuff that we see now, like all the rice and.
It's the classic cutting diet for a pre-contest.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So you started when you were about 21, 22. So you are kind of doing, just for people to catch up, you're doing kind of a modified version of a ketogenic diet. So it's called targeted ketogenic diets, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what does that entail exactly? Just for people to know.
Yeah, the approach I follow is, I have to go a little backward to explain you. When I started researching upon ketogenic diets, I first read about Body Opus. It's a very known book under bodybuilding circles. And it's practically a diet of cyclical ketogenic diet, the classic ketogenic diet that most bodybuilders know, which is you cut out the carbs for about a week or two, and then you do a carb load, which is that basically you eat all the carbs on Friday or Saturday, very much like carb night. So I started researching upon that diet. Then I ended up on Lyle McDonald's forums. And it was about the time where the ketogenic diet, the book he wrote, was like in all the rage. He had just released it. So I got the book, one of the first editions. I read it like 15 times, 20 times, and I started doing the classical ketogenic diet, which he promotes, which like everyone who starts reading the book, he describes the three approaches to a ketogenic diet, which is the classical or the standard ketogenic diet, which has no carb loads. Then he describes very briefly the targeted ketogenic diet, which is the one I do. And then he gets into greater detail on the cyclical ketogenic diet, which is basically carb night or the one you carb load. And like everyone in the internet, I wanted to get bigger muscles and also be ripped at the same time. So because the book describes as the targeted ketogenic diet as being middle ground, nobody wants to be mediocre. So I naturally went and started doing the carb loads, right? Which is he also, Lyle at the time wrote that there's very little information on targeted ketogenic diets. So like it only said like eat about 15 to 38 carbs before training, and maybe more if you need. And that was really all the information there is. If you go and read the book, is like maybe, I don't know, 5 pages long. There's not much information about it. So right now, I've been like 15 years doing keto. I started doing the cyclical ketogenic diet. I did it for about 4 or 5 years. And eventually I saw that I really did not need the carb loads. Maybe I had like, I don't know, a carb meal a week. I started spacing them more and more because I really did not feel like too much energy or did not like them at all. Mainly because naturally I bloated, I gained weight. I also felt lethargic, tired. And then according to Lau, from my experience, you had to do the depletion workouts, which is basically you had to deplete muscle glycogen. So it was like a very, for myself, a monotonous approach. Eat, deplete, eat, deplete. I ended up not really enjoying the food. So I started spacing more and more my carb loads. Eventually I was doing maybe 1 every 2 months. And then maybe just having 1 cheat meal every, when the occasion presented itself, which got to be maybe once every 3 months, you know, a special occasion like a wedding or hang out with friends and whatever. So basically I ended up going back to standard ketogenic diet again. Over time, maybe about 2008, 2009, I got back into reading my old books and started reading again on a targeted ketogenic diet approach. And what struck me up, the more interesting part was not the muscle glycogen part, but more the insulin part. You know, insulin during workout, bigger muscles, blah, blah, blah. So I started experimenting with 15 or 5 grams of carbs before workout, and also with branched chain amino acids or with a little bit of whey protein. And I ended up with a map with caro syrup, which is basically glucose. And that is what I've been doing since that time, about maybe 6 years onward. And this is what has given me the best results so far.
Okay, so I mean, obviously, when you're doing like a carb load after low carb or a workout, kind of the mechanism that they talk about is that you could replenish glycogen stores. And so, what is the supposed mechanism behind spiking your insulin before your workout?
And basically, insulin. You're playing with insulin. You're making it sensitive, raising blood glucose. Sort of like a hack to put you in muscle building mode. Practically, that's mainly like what you're doing. Also, if you go to classic bodybuilding, you will see that some old school bodybuilders even injected insulin during their workouts.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's like a mild approach to that idea, in a sense.
Okay, so have you like, do you think this actually offers you a better way as opposed to just doing like a straight ketogenic diet, like high fat, moderate protein, low carb, that kind of stuff, just all the time? Do you think this offers some extra benefit?
I think it depends on your goals, your insulin sensitivity. For example, most people will go and say it's not optimal. Well, it's optimal depending on what is optimal for you. I could say I'm probably near my genetic potential. I'm not going to get much bigger. If I go by any fat-free mass index calculator, I may be about last time I checked about 22 or 23 from a maximal which is 24. So for my size, my weight, my body fat percentage, and also my age, I'm 38 years. I'm like almost where I want to be. And I also don't want to be like bigger. My goal is to be to get as better as I can naturally. So why do I keep doing the targeted ketogenic diet? Because it helps me maintain the endurance and strength I need with my current training. It keeps me on a ketogenic diet. I've checked with blood and also with a breathalyzer, and I'm ketogenic all the time. Also, the approach I use, I don't go over 50 grams of carbs a day, even with the small spike of insulin I take. So
yeah,
it's like the best of both worlds in my experience.
Okay, yeah, right. And so I wanted to ask you about like what kind of like in general ketogenic diets and what benefits you see. But first, maybe we should backtrack a little bit. Have you ever tried like a traditional like high carb, you know, bodybuilding diet kind of thing?
I did. I've been training for almost 20 years now. I started bodybuilding when I was about 17, mainly because I was very fat. I was a typical fat guy in school that was very bad for sports and that got picked and trolled and whatever. Also because I was very bad for sports. There was like I wanted to do something that could separate me or make me noticeable. So I had one time a New Year's resolution was to get lean and get strong. I bought my first pair of barbells, and that's how I started bodybuilding or training. And actually, I did the classic whatever you read in magazines at the time, which was buying creatine, using creatine with what's the name, which orange juice or whatever juice you could get, carb load. Exactly. You know, the usual things you do. Eat a lot of carbs, eat a lot of rice, eat a lot of potatoes. What happened to me was that I got a little bit fatter. I got stronger, of course, but I got never like super lean. The only time I really got lean was before I started a proper ketogenic diet was by dieting a lot, eating high protein, and also eating very low fat. But I never got super ripped, and I also never got I felt like shit, you know, like crap, very tired, lethargic, no energy. The usual that happens when you go on a very low calorie diet.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And so what would you say, like, do you generally advise people who like come to you for advice for training and stuff? Like, I know you're coaching people. I saw like I see pictures of you like personal training people in
Uh-huh.
gyms and stuff. Do you advise them for trying keto diets or?
No, it's not something I push. It's something I've been known for as my area of expertise, as to say. But if someone comes to me for advice or wants to get coached, I don't push the ketogenic diet. What I suggest is mainly a more paleo-like diet in the sense that I suggest eating whole foods over processed food. But I'm not also crazy about eating only whole foods. Like it mainly depends on your budget, and whether you go low carb or high carb depends also on the goals of the person and the insulin sensitivity. If it's someone who has been lean all their life, probably they have a very high insulin sensitivity. So there's no need to go low carb. Yeah, on the contrary, the client is very fat. Very probably he has insulin resistance or a grade of it. So naturally, we're gonna have to cut a little bit of carbs, especially processed carbs.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And so like what is your like just out of curiosity, what is your typical calorie intake in a day and like your kind of macro setup? And maybe you can
Yeah,
also talk about like your food choices that you like best. That would be
of course.
interesting.
I'm a very analytical person, and also I like to stay like I don't like to change much. If something works for me in the sense of food, like for me it's easier just to repeat meals. So taking in account that I'm a manlet, I'm not very tall. I'm 5'6", and I
Hmm.
currently weigh about 72 kilos, which is 558 pounds, and probably between right now, let's say 10 to 12% body fat. So taking that in account, I'm currently eating about 1,900 calories. This is my maintenance calories. That is when I train. When I don't train, I may cut about 100 or 150 calories.
Okay.
And the macros are 104, between 130 up to 150 grams of protein, between 20 to maybe 50 grams of carbs, depending on the day, and the rest fat, which is usually 130 to 152.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like that's kind of a good indication that, well, like when you hear guys of like, let's say a guy is your size and talk about like, yeah, I'm eating like 4,000 calories a day. Like that's usually
It's
an
insane.
indication that's usually an indication that the person is using something. Like,
Or, well, of course, if they're eating that much calories and they are lean, probably they are onto something. On the other hand, every day I see males and females on all the forums I manage, like let's say a very petite girl, like a small girl that has a height of maybe 2 inches, and she's eating 160, 106, sorry, 1,600 calories, and she's not losing weight. Of course, she's not losing weight. That's the amount of calories I use to when I want to really get lean. You're not going to lose with that, and they're stuck that they have to eat. They have to eat a lot more because they're doing all this cardio and they're doing all this training and CrossFit and blah blah blah. When in reality, you don't burn that much calories when exercising. That's something that people have to really get a hold of.
yeah, do you think it's also like, I guess because like people like Gary Taubes, Gary Taubes is a very smart guy, but it's kind of been trendy to promote this idea that like, yeah, fat doesn't make you fat, and low carb, you can eat as much as you want, and people are, yeah. Do you tend to see that?
I am the most keto proponent guy, but I am also the most science-based guy. That's why we made Keto Gains, because we wanted to, yeah, keto works very well. I've lived in keto for so long. I know a lot of people who have done the diet, and it also works very well. But when you want, you have on one side saying that calories don't count. Then you have, how do you reconcile calories not counting with bodybuilding? You get my idea?
Yeah.
I want to get big. I have to calculate the amount of protein I need and the amount of fats and the amount of carbs. But here we have the ketogenic guys who say the calories don't count. I started doing keto because mainly Lyle McDonald and Dan Duquesne and the old school guys. And macros have always counted. I started doing keto with macros and it worked for me. So then people say that calories don't count. They're a little bit misguided. Yes, calories do count. The equation may change a little bit when you're in ketosis. Why? Because the higher thermic effect of foods, which are naturally ketogenic, but it does not mean that you won't get fat if you eat fat. If you eat an excess of energy, because let's not call them calories because people get mad, you will gain weight. That's about it. How am I gaining a muscle and gaining weight when I want? Well, by eating a little bit more. That's about it.
Yeah, no, that's and actually, do you kind of, because I mean, for example, when I tried like high fat, low carb diets in the past, I had these crazy stuff that I did. Like I ate a whole bunch of nuts and nut butters and stuff like that. And I mean, it's so easy to overeat those kind of stuff. Do you consume any of that?
Incredibly. For example, talking about my diet normally, I've been also everything that I try to promote or give advice. I have a rule that I should test it by myself before for a while. I don't like to go and try intermittent fasting. Well, I read a lot about intermittent fasting, lean gains, and everything, and I said, okay, this makes sense. Let's see how it goes, because the usual. You start intermittent fasting, then you get hungry, then you get headaches and whatever. Same as people who try keto and then they drop off about 3 or 4 days later and then say they don't work, right? As I come from a bodybuilding background, even on keto, I did the classical 5-6 meals a day. I had my protein shake. I ate every 3 hours. I had some protein here, some protein there, salads, a little bit fat, whatever. What happened? The classical. Even on keto, I got hungry. I was expecting my next meal. So when I read up on intermittent fasting, was like, wow, this is very interesting, and I'm gonna be like liberated. I don't have to be eating every day, like every 3 or 4 hours or whatever. I started playing with it. I researched, and now I've been practically 2 years straight intermittent fasting. Well, I did a little drop off on intermittent fasting during 1 month before, about November. just to test if I felt better doing 3-4 meals a day or doing intermittent fasting. And I can say I'm back into intermittent fasting because it's easier for my schedule and my life to keep doing the fasting, right?
Yeah.
So returning to the meals, for example, I normally eat, try to have 3 or 4 eggs up to 10 a day. So I eat lots of eggs, chicken, turkey, tuna, salmon, some organ meats like chicken liver and chicken hearts, some beef. I'm not like the classical keto guy that eats bacon all the time. Maybe, probably if I have bacon once every 2 weeks, it's like much. I do ingest a lot of avocado.
Avocado is awesome. It's one of the best
Yeah.
ketogenic foods. Yeah.
Practically, I also ingest or try to cook everything with coconut oil, even though that's another like difference or discrepancy to maybe some ketogenic dieters that you will see. When I cook on a pan, I use spraying oil. I don't go and like get crazy on the oil. No, I just use spraying, and I try to keep my oils coming from natural foods. And then if I'm very low during the day on fat, on dietary fat, I will have maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, which I normally ingest with my training. It's part of my pre-workout, 1 or 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, mainly due to the MCTs. But if you see, or people who know me in real life, they just see a guy eating salads and meats practically. I'm mostly like normal. They don't know I'm doing a high fat diet.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, so you mentioned the intermittent fasting stuff. How do you? I do that as well, actually. But how do you schedule your eating window? How long do you fast?
Okay, I'm probably in the 14 to 16 hour fasts. I just skip breakfast and have my first meal after training. I train at morning. So I have maybe between 2 or 4 p.m. I have my first meal. And then about 3 to 4 hours later, I'll have my dinner. And that's about it.
Okay. So and then you try to sandwich your workout in between the 2 meals as well, like?
No, I actually work out in the morning before.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Have you noticed any difference there? Like, or do you use anything, like, do you use caffeine or anything other than the MCT?
I do use caffeine. Also, note that my typical fasting is not the exact or the fasting our lean gains, which you don't ingest real like any kind of calories or food. I do have about 100 calories worth of MCT oil, 7 grams of glucose, and maybe a little bit of branched chain amino acids, or 10 grams of protein. It's not much calories, but I'd like just have those between training or before training, but it's not a proper meal. I'm just having a little bit of protein, fat, and glucose.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, one thing that I wanted to bring up is that, because when guys are eating a high carb diet and then let's say on the weekend or something, they go way over their calories and then they do a depletion workout, like you mentioned, or something. Like when you're eating a high fat diet and you go way over your, I don't know, you eat a whole bunch of macadamia nuts or something accidentally or not accidentally. How do you have any kind of strategies that you like to do to damage control?
What I usually do is I don't know if you're familiar with the recomp protocol. Basically,
yes, okay. I know
Basically, it's called caloric cycling. So what I do is training days. I call them bulk days. I eat more on days I train, and on days I don't train, I eat less. So they're like cutting days. And then I calculate my calories for the whole week, not just for a day, because a lot of people I've seen in my view, it's a little bit of an error, saying, "Oh, I want to gain muscle." They calculate their surplus based on their standard calories, and then they eat all the week with a surplus. Of course, it may work, but maybe they are overeating. So what happens is that they also gain a lot of fat. Because my personal objective is to stay as lean as I can. while maintaining or gaining strength, I prefer like eat more on days I train and eat less on days I rest. So overall, my caloric intake is mostly the same. And in cases like you said, like I overeat one day, what I do is maybe at the next day I'll do a little bit of cardio, which I try to not to do. I'm not a very big cardio guy, and maybe eat I don't know 100 or 200 calories less for a few days. That's about it.
Yeah, actually, just came to mind that you mentioned that you're generally around like 10 to 12% body fat. Have you once had to like diet down from a lot higher percentage, or have you been always kind of lean?
No, I was very fat. I was like maybe 35% body fat when I was a teenager. I dropped by doing lots of cardio. I was even not diagnosed, but I was an anorexic.
Okay.
I'm talking about eating probably 400 calories a day.
No shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
that's
really. I spent like 2 hours on a treadmill or a stairmaster. I stopped doing weightlifting because I had no energy. I like got home and then I slept because I was hungry. So the way I managed hunger was sleeping. And my food was a cereal in the morning and a small salad with maybe 50 grams of chicken and lettuce. And that was like my worst years. That was during college before I started doing a ketogenic diet because I wanted to get very lean. I was misinformed and misguided.
oh shit. Well,
Yeah,
then it must have been hard to get out of that, like reestablish like kind of a good relationship with dieting and body weight and body image and all that stuff, right?
yeah, and like the time I hit like ground was because I was thin, but I was not ripped. I was not like I was skinny fat. That's what happened to me. So I said I'm doing all this and I look like shit. It's not worth it, and I don't even have energy to go to the gym and lift, which is something like released me or something I liked. So that's
Yeah.
why I stopped doing that. And thankfully, I think I stopped at a very good time. But well, whatever.
Yeah, and now like because I guess for people who had a history like that with food, like a ketogenic diet can be good in that sense that like it's very you're just not interested in food because you're not hungry, like basically never hungry,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. That's one of the benefits of doing a ketogenic diet is that you are. No, I'm not saying that it will work for everyone, but in my experience, it works and it has worked for a lot of people I get to relate to. For example, the Facebook group alone has over 13,000 people. The Reddit forum has about 25,000, and the main keto group has over 100,000 people right now.
Oh
So
wow.
I see experiences from people every day, from people who were very fat, who have very bad relationships with food. And what ketogenic diet does to these people is that you are released. You're released from cravings. You are released from binges. You are released from from being a slave to your impulses. So this is a disagreement I may have with a lot of fitness gurus and coaches and everyone, is that they say that carbs are not evil and they're not bad and everyone should have a sustainable and varied diet. I agree in that regard. Carbs are not evil, carbs are not bad. Like if you can tolerate them and you can have them and you have control with them, perfectly, go and eat them. But for some people that have a bad relationship with food, as in my case, and some of other people's I've talked to, and other people that frequent these boards, uh, it's like if they were, in a sense, being alcoholic. It's very hard to actually have control over what you eat. It's easy to say, well, don't eat and take all your food out of your house and whatever. But when you are compelled to eat or to binge, you go and do it. And I've read stories of people that it's like raining and snowing outside, and they get into the car and go drive 5 or 10 miles to a 7-Eleven and buy all the the food there and ice creams and whatever just to eat. That's not normal. That's not good. And keto has helped these people lose 100 or 200 pounds just because now they are in control of what they eat and their impulses.
Yeah, and it's like because like you said, like now the kind of the trend is to really promote flexible dieting and to like if it fits your macros, which like for some people it works great. Like for some people, if they know that they can have this little bit of ice cream and fit it into their macros, it helps them. But for a lot of people, like for me, that would make it eat actually a lot harder than if I just cut it out altogether. Like
Exactly.
yeah. So it's like not customized. It like they make it as if it's a one size fits all kind of approach, and it's not really like.
I agree perfectly with you. It's if it fits your macros, is I think a very valid approach for people who are young and healthy and want to enjoy it. But for people who have control issues, it's not going to work in the long term.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, like a lot of people, like for example, Menno, who we are both doing that. That's how I know I've seen you before on the internet, but now we're both doing Menno Henselmans's course. And I'm not sure if you've seen his picture, but he just posted a picture of himself, like pretty ripped, and he is not actually tracking his macros. He's just eating actually pretty clean. And like clean is almost like a curse word nowadays, and well, for some people it works great, for some it doesn't, but But actually, one thing I wanted to ask you about is like now you're doing keto, you're building, well, you're obviously a bodybuilder, you're working out a lot, and I'm sure you meet a lot of people who are like telling you like, oh, like they're just not going to work because carbs are vital for muscle building because you need the glycogen and insulin and whatever. Like, what is your kind of general response for those people?
Well, basically, like you have two camps of people. The ones that just like talk from their ass and really don't know how muscle is built and how the energy equation comes, and the ones that are very knowledgeable. Actually, now that you talked about Menno's course, that's in chapter 3. We're going to talk about that because this is the second time I've actually taken the course.
Okay.
So, for the people that really don't know, it's very easy because practically you just explain them that you are taking the energy from the fat and that you are eating adequate protein. That's about it. Now, like when you have a debate, which is something I really don't like to get into because it's not necessary, you're just wasting energy. But in the broad sense, like glycogen will replenish itself. There's a process called gluconeogenesis. So the longer you are in keto, the better your body adapts to using fat as fuel, as the main source, and you will only use glycogen as needed. For example, also, you have to adapt a little bit of your training around this. Like people who have seen me train or people who train with me in real life, they don't believe that I'm on a ketogenic diet because normally I train with very high volume and a lot of weight. Right now I'm doing a variation of the German volume training. So just to give you a broad example of what I'm doing, and I'm not doing it alone. I'm doing it with 12 of my clients who I put in the program, who are more, some of my advanced lifters. We're basically doing, the classic German volume training is 10 sets of 10 reps. So we are doing sort of a bro split. One day is legs, another day is shoulders, another day is back, and another day is pecs. We're starting with the main compound exercises, 100 reps at least, because sometimes we may go 120. With lifting above 70% or max rep, and then doing another about 5 or 6 extra exercises for accessory sets at about 50 reps to 30 reps each. So we're lifting very heavy, about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of lifting, no cardio, without carb loads or without nothing. So this is actually Yeah, it can be done. We're just and we're not like gobbling on fat like other people say, or eating butter. No, I'm at my 2,000 on average calories a day. I'm not eating like more like crazy or drinking bulletproof coffee or whatever. I'm just eating normally whole foods. The people who are doing the program are also on the same vein, so it's pretty manageable.
Yeah, right. And so, would you mind sharing some of your? Because I've seen you lifting some really heavy weights. What would you share some numbers? What weights are you throwing around?
I haven't done my rep maxes in a while, but normally I like do again in context, no, because I may say some numbers and people are going to go, I can lift 3 times that. Remember that I'm 158 pounds. Right. So for squats, I like to do 365.
Yeah.
I warm up with 125, for example. That's my opening set. Deadlift, my max is around 460, but I'm right now doing 350. That's like what I do for reps. Bench press. Right now, I just came from doing my German volume training from bench. I did about 120 reps at 225.
Oh, wow. Shit, that's a lot of weight.
That's a lot of volume. While my record for bench press has been 435 last year.
435. Oh my gosh. That's yeah, okay. And like
I can bench more than I can deadlift. I have the body of a gorilla.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, some people are just built better for pressing movements. Some people are better at pulling. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, and so what would you say, because like you said, you're pretty much right up there at like the genetic kind of limit. Like how much muscle would you say you put on over the years, like since you started lifting?
Okay, well, let's go back to where I was like anorexic. I ended up, sorry if I mix some numbers. I have to take into account that I'm from Mexico, so normally I use kilos.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I've learned to, because everything I do is in English, I have to switch rapidly.
Yeah.
So my lowest weight when I was anorexic, when I had to go back, start from zero, was 48 kilos. Right now I'm 72.
Okay, yeah.
How much did I put? The first time I posted on Reddit, I was doing a standard ketogenic diet, and I was just starting into powerlifting. That was about 2009. I was about 77 kilos. Right now I'm 72 with about 10 to 12% body fat. At the time I was about 15 to 17%.
Right.
So I'm practically at the same weight, or around the same weight, with a lot more muscle. There's actually a picture floating around the internet, and if you compare, I may say that I built about a kilo of muscle per year, so about 4 to 5 kilos of muscle. It might not sound a lot, but considering my age and what I've been doing, it's pretty. For me, it's a lot, and more so if you look at both pictures.
Yeah, and also you have to take that into account. That actually, I forgot what I wanted to say, but no, but yeah, it's definitely, I guess, just a good message for people that on low carbohydrate diets, you can definitely build a lot of muscle. Like some people, sometimes they just post these articles kind of debunking the idea that you can do it, and they post references that are just completely irrelevant to, I don't know, for example, someone posting an article which is comparing a study group who is eating 200 grams of carbs versus another one who's eating 400 grams of carbs. It's okay, that's very interesting, but that's nothing to do with ketogenic diets.
Exactly. Yeah,
How is that
most people that are going to debunk keto or are against keto, I'm not saying all, like you say, they just passed studies that are not relevant. For example, when they actually compare keto, the study lasted less than 2 weeks. That's like not enough to get adapted, because that's a very important point. Or when they say that you lose muscle or whatever, all the negative facts about keto are mostly from studies on epileptic children with a very low protein intake, subpar nutrients, etc., and people who are not strength training. The approach that I follow and that we encourage in Keto Gains is practically not your classical ketogenic diet. We actually differentiate between a therapeutic ketogenic diet, which is the one that people use normally with percentages, and what we suggest is more so of a diet that you calculate your macros based on grams depending on your lean mass. So it's not like normally a ketogenic diet says that 75% of your macros or your calories have to come from fat, then about 5% or less from carbs, and the rest from protein. And we actually go exactly the other way around. First, you calculate your protein, at least at about 0.8 grams per lean pound. Then you review macros. They have to be below 20 or 25 grams of carbs, or maybe higher if you are, depending on the type of sport and duration you are doing. Some people tolerate a little bit more of carbs. And then the rest of your calories come from fat. And that is something most people don't grasp, especially we have people that say, no, you're not doing true ketogenic diet. That is no keto because your protein is too high and whatever. They don't understand that a ketogenic diet can have various applications depending on the goals of the dieter.
Right. Okay, so now you mentioned a couple of times Keto Gains, and I was meant to ask you about that. So what is are you the founder of that movement, or can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, practically like the short story is that I ended up on Reddit by, I don't know why, I don't remember the exact reason. For those that don't know, Reddit is like a forum of forums. It's like where you go and see memes and everything funny or news or whatever. And I don't know, I ended up on Reddit, and then I saw that there was a keto board. I started reading and I started participating. I saw that people were doing keto there, but that it was a little bit different. Or was the classical keto? It was different from the one I knew, which was based on bodybuilding. And one day there was a guy saying that you can't build muscle on keto and whatever, the usual. And then I said, well, I can. I've been doing this for like a lot. At the time, maybe 9 years. So I posted my story and some pictures. And then people started asking me a lot of questions and a lot. And what happened is that I got tired of answering the same questions every day and having to fight with people and pull out references and studies and whatever. So what happened is that I started saving the studies on my computer as to have a more like a reference guide. And then I said, well, fuck it, and let's open a subreddit dedicated actually just to strength training on a ketogenic diet. And that is how Keto Gains was born.
Okay, and so where are you heading with Keto Gains? Because it's kind of growing, right?
Yeah, it's gotten pretty big in the last year. So basically, yes, now I'm coaching people that who want to be coached on their ketogenic diet. The idea is to grow it as a brand and practically help people who have not been able to get lean or to get strong with any other diets with a ketogenic diet to achieve their goals. It's not necessarily tailored for people who want to strength train. We see it more of as a broad approach to gaining a lean body, gaining strength, of course, gaining health. So it applies to a lot of people, and also that's why the group has grown so big, because we have your normal housewife who just wants to maybe tone, that word.
Yeah.
Or we have people who want to gain endurance and they're doing marathons and now are exploring a ketogenic diet to have a better endurance. We have people just want to look good naked. And so far, like, it's a very easy approach for most people, because we don't say they don't have to count calories. We actually differentiate between doing lazy keto or more exact keto. Lazy keto, you can do it and it's sustainable and it works perfectly for a lot of people. But if you really want to get like to 1-digit body fat, or maybe optimize your workout, you're going to have to eventually start tracking your macros and start tracking your training and everything. So that's like the second tier approach we promote.
Yeah, right. Well, actually, before we start wrapping up, I just thought I would ask you about, like, do you have any kind of future plans with this? Like, do you want to take it some kind of to a next level? And also, like, well, first, let's just take that question first.
Yeah, well, actually, we're starting like the Spanish chapter or Latin American chapter. It's funny because even though I'm in Mexico, I'm more of an unknown here. Like my friends and everyone that don't know what I'm doing. It's very funny. They know that I just eat a little bit weird, that I don't eat carbs and maize and tortillas and, the usual Mexican diet. And they know that I help people on the internet, and that's about it. But I actually have the project because people have been asking me a lot about it, to start translating the information and also help people in Spain and Latin America and in some parts of the States that they don't speak English. So that's right now my project for this year.
Okay, cool. And so I guess my last question would be, like, do you have, because I'm also big, not just big into fitness, but kind of like general kind of self improvement, like, do you have any kind of cool, I don't know, like philosophies that you kind of live by, that you kind of keep yourself positive, keep yourself motivated, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, of course. I'm a very, or I'm my best motivator, because sometimes I have clients and people tell me, how do you motivate yourself to go and do it? Or how do you, like, today I don't feel like lifting, or how do you do? Or what did you do? And for example, I've been lifting like since I was 17. I lifted all through college. I dieted all through college while studying and also having a 8-hour-a-day job. The usual, like, you have people who put up excuses, and then you have people who do whatever they can and do it. So my usual philosophy is like, I'm a nerd from Star Wars, a fan from Star Wars. So I have taken this Yoda quote and applied it to my everyday life. It's like, do it or do not. There is no try. Just go and do it. So you set your mind on something and you decide what you have to do and go ahead and do it. Because if you end up, for example, returning to all the bodybuilding forums and information you see nowadays on the net, you see people and guys who want to start strength training, and they spend hours and days reading and trying to optimize their training and doing and arguing about what's best and when it's best to eat and their anabolic window and everything. That is become a meme. And then you go and say, okay, and how much are you benching, or how much are you lifting, or how many days a week are you going to strength training? What is your volume? How are you managing this or measuring this? They don't know, because they're to hang out fighting about what is better, if a ketogenic diet or a high carb diet or vegan gains or keto gains or whatever, instead of actually go and lifting. All your energy is spent here, while the most important thing I learned in my bodybuilding journey is consistency. Right? If you're gonna lift, you have to go and lift 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, and then you have also to increase the weight you're lifting. If you're going to be lifting your barbell weights every day because you're afraid of overtraining, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like from one end, it's kind of like it's a good thing that they're trying to optimize everything. Like it's a positive thing, but on the other hand, I've noticed it on myself as well that setting plans and like telling everybody like, yeah, I'm gonna lose weight or I'm gonna do this and that, like making plans is actually a lot of fun. But sitting down and doing the thing that it requires is not that much fun. Like that's
exactly.
where yeah.
And I've seen that, for example, with my clients, the best way to motivate them is by making themselves having them motivate themselves. And how do you do that? You actually make them compete against themselves. For example, I usually start them when they want to strength train with a classical 5x5 program. So I have a spreadsheet for them, and what they do is that they have to fill in their volume, their weights, and then they have to compare them by themselves each week. Because if they just go and write it on a note, they're not going to see the actual weight or the volume they're lifting. They don't understand. And when you explain to them that it's like a game, that they have to break their own records each week, they are motivating themselves. And then you go and you give them a pat on the back, and it's awesome for them. And that's when they get hooked with lifting.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly like when people see those numbers go up, then
exactly.
if they should be pretty hooked. Like then it usually doesn't take that much motivation because it's just really inspiring to see your progress on a week to week basis. So yeah, actually, kind of a random question: did you set any New Year's resolutions?
Well, my New Year resolution is to do this project, Keto Gains in Spanish.
Oh, so awesome!
That's my idea for this year. And also, on a related note, like we're having a small Keto Gains meetup in the States. So at the end of the month, I'm actually flying to the States to meet some of the guys from the group. We are actually we started selling shirts as a joke. It's the one I'm like wearing right now.
Yeah, it looks good. What am I to say? Yeah.
Meno has ones actually. Like now, lots of people want the shirt. The people that are in the group are like, I'm not doing this as a business. Like, you want the shirt, go and get the shirt. It's there. I don't even ship them. It's just a store that it's online. You can get the shirts if you want. But people want the shirt, so it's very funny. Like the brand really has. People feel very identified with the way of eating or the community we have made.
It's like a little family, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. All right, then just, I don't know, like, do you want to tell people like where they can find you on the internet if they want to learn about your approach to diet and training? Yeah.
Sure. They can go to the webpage, which is ketogains.com. I try to, it's brand new. We're actually starting to put out more content. But if they want to join the community, the easiest way is just to go to Facebook and look for Keto Gains. We have a closed group. It's closed at the moment in the sense that you have to ask for permission, because in Facebook you have lots of people who post porn and post whatever. So everyone can join. We are not closed group in that regard. We just screen that we don't have fake profiles, and that's about it. Or maybe right now, probably you're gonna see it. There's there are people taking advantage of people who do a ketogenic diet by selling multi-level marketing products.
Yeah.
So we are against that. I personally hate that people, because I was fat once. I know and I relate. And I know that when you're desperate, you will take whatever chance you feel possible, you can, right? And these people, most of them are taking advantage of fat people or desperate people who want to get lean fast, and they're taking their money in an unjust way. So we're very against that. And that is why the group is closed, because You start, and then you see a classical picture of someone who lost like 100 pounds in 2 weeks, and of course it's going to generate questions, and then they start selling these supplements. It's not fair.
Of course.
It's not ethical, and it's a lie.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. Yeah. That's great that you're keeping your integrity. Yeah. All right, man. Thanks so much for taking the time. I think we shared some cool insights, and yeah, I think people got some cool insights about keto diets and all that kind of stuff. So good luck with Keto Gains and all your endeavors. And thanks again.
We'll see you in Menno's class.
Yeah, we sure will see each other there. And thanks for everybody for tuning in, and I will see you next time.